Aloha, brother. So, this is the other end of just the piano thing put all together. I hope this makes sense. Wonderful meeting you. When we count out rhythms, we have general time signatures, which take whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, and then eighth notes. And then 16, 32nd, 64th notes. But those are like, they're really fast. The long story short is when you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. What I'm exhibiting there is when I have any beat going, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. These are whole notes. It impacts on the 1, and it has a resonance that goes all the way through those 4 notes, meaning I have a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right there, I just had 4 whole notes. When I subdivide a whole note, which has 4 beats, into a half note, I divide it into 2 notes. Both have an equal duration of 2 notes. 1, 2, 1, 2. Therefore, I can keep 4, 4 on one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, while still exhibiting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hear it? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the 2 notes, they act as the half. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. These are whole notes. Now these are half. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now quarter notes, they're every beat. So in 4/4, there are 4 notes per beat, and the quarter notes get the beat. That's what 4/4 means. When I go to 3/4, that means there are 3 notes per measure, and the quarter note still gets the beat. So if I have, it's like I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But if I didn't define that as being 1, 2, 3, 4, it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Therefore, I get something called a duple meter or a polyrhythm, where I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, and have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 underneath it, thusly giving me the time signature of 3/4. Slow enough, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Kind of sounds like a waltz. When we have these notes together, counting out rhythms that have a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you do something called inflection. The inflection will go on the 1, unless otherwise noted. Most music will have a that kind of cadence, which makes you feel the 1 intrinsically. That's in 3/4. In 2/4, when we have 2 notes per measure and the quarter notes still get the beat, I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's more like a march. Da, da, da. You feel the sway of 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So it's kind of like a back and forth movement, slower. When you speed that up like this, do you notice how that back and forth 2/4 can become 4/4? 1, 2, 3, 4. That really relies on knowing a lot about music in the end run. You are going to be able to put this together, but when you speed up any rhythm, rhythms become other rhythms. But the basic note counting that we need to exhibit are 5, 6, 8 different types of notes. 1 is a whole note. It's a circle, not filled in. It's worth 4 notes, just discussed. The next is taking that whole note and putting a bar next to it. Now that line, that bar, on the whole note, cuts it in half, so it's worth 2 beats. It's called a half note. You know this too. I heard you say the words half note. It's also called a semi-breve. We generally don't use that dialect or that linguist. It's more or less for over across the pond. So over in Britain, they will say bereave or a semi-bereave. All we need to know is it's a whole tone or a half tone, okay? The next one we have is called a quarter note. Now our croquette, C-R-O-C-E-T, croquette, is going to be our quarter note. The quarter note is going to last for one beat, which we exhibit. In 4/4, we've got 4 quarters, 4 notes. So what happens when we subdivide the 1, 2, 3, 4? Listen to the notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, those are eighth notes. I said them. Now let me clap it, but say quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice 8 claps, 4 counted notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of my quarters had 2 claps, which means there are 2 quarter notes, which make an eighth note. So when you see it, you will have your whole note with a bar, and then it's filled in. That's a quarter note. You put 2 quarter notes right next to each other and tie them together, that becomes an eighth note. You'll also see a single quarter note with a queda, which is a little slash off the top. Eighth notes have 1, 16th notes have 2, 32nd notes have 3, so on and so forth. So when we see this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The last thing that I just counted out was a subdivided polyrhythm of eighth notes, which means I get 16th notes or 32nd notes the slower or the faster that I go. In this reference case, what we do is we utilize that percussive element to actually give rhythm and structure to an otherwise dull and boring progression. So if I have something like I've got a C major, E minor, F major. These are all in whole notes. 2, 3, 4, whole note, 2, 3, 4, whole note, 2, 3, 4, whole note, 2, 3. Now half notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now here's some eighth notes. See how it's essentially the same chords, except we're adding different durations of these and adding them, subtracting them, I get different polyrhythms. So if I hold 2, 3, 4, 2 whole notes on the bottom and do a subdivision of, let's say, like eighth notes. That's just an example of a song by a band named Cream, but they're taking a C major, E minor, and an F major, and they're just making it into something super special. And what I want to do is share how you can hear that, break it down rhythmically, and then put it into action with your ukulele, with your trumpet, with the piano. That all starts by hearing what our chords are made of. Those triads, 1, 3, and 5, and then our additions of the 2, 4, the 6th, and the 7th, they make alterations to that triad, so our ear goes, oh, how about like a C major 7? Feels like I'm hanging out over the top of the chord, and I want it to resolve from here to here, or from here to here. So when you hear a chords move around themselves to bass on it, but you always heard me play a triad there. Now when we play melodies like those individual articulated notes can have a melody line, but most likely when you have a chords that are supposed to be playing underneath. What we don't do is hear those chords all the time. So in this case, what I like to do is grab an ukulele and go over just what our exercise for this week is. I know this is a long video. It generally won't be this long. If you enjoy it, great. I'll never delete this, so you're always gonna have it. That's the fun of this. Make sure our instrument's in tune. This top note closest to our note is called the high G. The reason why, when I find that middle C we spoke of by playing the black notes and finding C, when I find C4 and I go C, D, E, F, G, I'm at the same note, which is the top note on my ukulele. So when I play that top note, remember what I said middle C is? That's right. The lowest note on your ukulele, the thickest string, the one closest to the high G string, that's our C note. So if you go to a piano and or any apparatus and hit a C note, it should ring true. Now if you're a little flat, what I would suggest is going down below the note, hearing the note, putting it in your mind's eye, if you will, hearing the note, seeing the note, and learning how to raise up to that note. One, hearing a note as a flat and a sharp by going la, or a la, and hearing that half step up or la, that diatone. Being able to know what sounds wrong is the best way to know what sounds right. So if I want to hear a C major and I have accidentally hit a diatone in there, I can't really have a major third, which is made out of 1, 2, 3, 4 minor seconds, with a minor third, which is made out of 1, 2, 3 minor seconds, and have the same sort of impact. I guess the word or the phrasing would be harmonically. It just doesn't sound right. Now, granted, jazz uses a lot of that where it has like a, where it uses that awkwardness of that diatone to give expression. We're not at that point together, so what we're trying to do is hear how diatones are kind of funky, all right? So our chord of the week is going to be a C major. The C major utilizes the third finger at the third fret on the A string. Now granted, we have the high G, we've got the C, so let's make sure that our E is in tune. The third string, E. Fourth string, A. When I play our chord of the week, the C major, it should sound copacetic. If you hear something that sounds like that, or just a little funky, then some notes are off. Go back and try and retune. Our chord of the week is C major and D minor. A C major is made by playing 3 open notes: the open C, the open E, and the open G. Reasonably, the first 3 on your uk. The only one that you don't play open is the A string. When we play an A, if we go sharp, a half step, a semitone, a half step, a minor second, we go up a half step, and then another half step, and then another half step. So from A, we're going a minor third away. A to A sharp is a minor second. A sharp to B is a minor second, which from A that makes a major second. A minor third from A would be A to C. Hence, A to C is the minor third function in an A major chord. And then an A major would be a C sharp. Thusly, A to C sharp is a major third. It is composed of 1, 2, 3, 4 minor seconds, or 4 semitones, or 4 semibaris. But we really don't say that a lot over here in America. So, C major, all 3 open. Here's our teeter-totter method. First finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. Keep this rhythm going. When you do it in the aforementioned whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th, it will look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2. Those are all our whole notes. Now here's our half. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Here's our quarters. And 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and now here's our eighth notes. Down, up, 1 and 1 and sounds slow, but what we're really counting here is 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Each one of these gets harder and easier the more you do them, and the more you practice the practicing. Our second chord is the second chord in a C major. There are no sharps and flats in a C major chord, meaning I'm not saying C, D, E, F, G, A, C flat, C. I'm not saying C, double sharp C, triple sharp C, quadruple sharp C. It'd be ridiculous and it would take way too much time to do that. However, when I do say C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C, the takeaway is all those are triads. Each triad has 1, 3, and a 5, and I move up in half steps. I'm sorry, that is incorrect. I move up in a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That'll make more sense later, but when I do that in any key, D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, C sharp, diminished, what's that, C sharp diminished, and then it resolves to D. When we do this, we're actually moving up the tone so our ear goes, oh, I know what a 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, the key of D, D, E, D, F sharp, D, G, D, A, the key of E, E, F sharp, E, G, E, A, E, B. The notes don't so much matter as the fingering positions. And we'll get into that with the piano, we'll get into that with this, but when you're making your C major, remember, the third finger should feel the best because of spider exercises. When we play a D major, we're playing on the, D minor. When we're playing on the D minor, we play the first fret at the E string. So count them, high G, C, E, and A. So E string, sharpened, is like on a piano. There isn't a black key between E and F. So E to F, half step. Our finger stays on F. Now remember, not a flat note, pointy note. That means that we want it to be so pointy that the back fat on the finger doesn't hit any other notes. It's primarily for that note, that string, that fret, yeah? The second finger, which is our middle finger, is gonna go on the second fret on that high G string, making it an A note. So we have a G, G sharp, or an A flat, A. So now we have the F, A, and the thick string open is a C, and then the string up here is just another A. So we've got two A's, a C, and an F. Well, F, A, and C is a F major. So this is an F major. What we do is we lay down our third finger, boom, right underneath there, and it magically turns that F major into a D minor. Why? Both chords are super close. They're like best friends, cousins. They share a lot of the same stuff. So long story short, our two chords are C major and D minor. D minor has a finger on the F, finger on the A, and then a finger right underneath that A on the C string at the second fret to give us C, C sharp, D, D minor. Here's what it looks like with our teeter-totters. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, switch, keep the right hand going. Strum, switch, keep the right hand going. Do not move on to half notes or eighth notes until you can keep this right hand going 2, 3, 4, down, down, down. Until you can keep this on like a metronome. Cling, cling, cling. Don't move that other hand. Until we do, we have this. And then we switch our fingers. Notice how the first finger's off the fretboard, yet I'm still playing the same exact chord. It is a mirror image, but I'm putting one finger off and then putting another finger off. The whole process does that for every single chord that we learned. Here's why. When I have this chord here and I scoot up, I can't play this high note because it's out, and I can't take my finger and stretch it all the way back there. However, if I bar this chord and play that, here's that D minor, here it is as a D sharp minor, E minor, F minor, all the way up. Same thing with the G. When I play a G like this, I can scoot it up and bar that chord. When I play an A like this, I can play it in second fingering, scoot it up and play it. All I'm doing is changing the distance between the nut and the saddle. When you do that, that frequency that has a peak or a crest and a trough hits each other's. When I play a chord, a 1, 3, 5, One frequency is doing one vibration, another frequency is doing another vibration, and the other frequency is doing another. Where those lines intersect each other is where our eardrums rattle. Why? Everything in our reality has a resonance frequency, meaning if you put energy into it, it will vibrate harder and longer or shorter and quieter. That's what music is. When I play what I just did, and it expects me to do the same thing because we're used to hearing repetition. But what if I threw something weird at this, like playing the C major with all sevens? Stumbled into another song. So what we're going to work on next week? Our spider exercises as well. We're going to take our first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. These aren't flat notes, they're pointy. Leave all the fingers on your left hand on the fretboard until you move up to the next note. Notice how one finger that was playing this top G has to make the connection of 4 notes are going to be on this string, and then the 5th has to correlate with that other finger. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move up a string, move up a string. Da 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 da. Move up a string, move up a string. Da 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 da. Move up a string, move up a string. Da 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 da. Don't stop. Keep going. Da 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 da. Bum 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 da 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 da. Dun 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 dun. And the point of this is we do this every day just to get warmed up. This forms muscle memory and it helps us to have pointy notes rather than flat notes. So when we do have flat notes, we know why we use them. We also work on crazy chords that sound good and different songs. So next week, what I would like to do is just pick one small song and work from there. Something simple that we know and can do easily. Dissecting why we don't use the same note names, how our fingers can play the same chords, but switch around so there's maximal flexibility on how you want to play a chord, and then just quickly discuss why triads affect every other chord. When you have a G major, when I throw a sus4, how come I hear? And I want my ear to hear love. I want that resolution. We're going to talk about that next week, and I really enjoyed meeting you. I can't wait to see you next week. Aloha. All right, quick recap over here. This is our middle C. That means when I go all the way down to the end and I hit the lowest one, I take a fist and I smack the 2 notes, then the 3 notes. That kind of tells me where I'm at. Blum, 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 blum. When you get the 2 notes, the note right below it when I go flat, that's a C. Not only just a C, but that's a middle C, C4, C3, C2. I can't hit C1, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, C8. So when we have a triad, I use my 1, 3, 5 finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C and C are the same. And when I do these, I have a minor second, 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 minor second. There are 12 minor seconds. 6 plus 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that make up a full octave. So when I play my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just play the 1, 3, and 5, it get a major triad. All chords are made out of notes. A note has a frequency which goes up and down. When it hits the top, it's called a peak or a crest. When it hits the bottom, it's called a trough. When we have this note and I go up to a C sharp, I can have a N harmonic equivalent note, meaning I can call an apple even though an apple is red and an apple is green. This is a red apple, this is a green apple. Why? C to C sharp, C, D, D to D flat. When I go up, I call them sharp. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E sharp. That's an F. F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Or C, C flat, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F flat, which is an E, F flat, E flat, D, D flat, C. You know, as I said, I don't say things twice. I don't do C, D, E, F, G, A, C flat, C. What happened to B? So when I go C major is my major triad, there are no sharps and no flats in the key of C. Meaning when I do whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, these two half steps allow me to put and in between. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So when I have my 1, 2, 3, my 5, 6, 7, the weird notes are my half steps, which in every case are a diatone. They're actually splitting the air. One frequency is doing a pitch, and one frequency is doing a pitch. So when you have two notes that are next to each other, your peaks and your troughs hit middle of that frequency. So what we happen to have is majors, minors, diminished, and augments. Majors are 1, 3, 5. An augmented chord is a 1, 3, but then I sharpen my 5 to give me a sharp 5. And it's great as a chord because it leads. Oh, sorry. It moves me to the next. I digress. So C, D, E, F, G. When I have these 5 notes, I play 1, 2, 3, and then go under with my thumb. On the right hand, every single one of my majors has a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So if I move that up to a D major, D has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. So when I get to my 1, 2, 3, 4, because when I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a major third, no matter where I do it. So right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, major third. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, major third. So what we do on the ukulele, on anything which has multiple poly notes to make chord structures, not monotonal like a saxophone, trumpet, which you only really play one note at a time. So when I've got this movement of here, I've got a minor second. This is a major second. Notice how I have my second finger playing my minor second, major second. When I go to my minor third, I use my third finger. Major third, third finger. Perfect fourth. Augmented fourth. Perfect fifth. No matter what key I'm in, perfect fifths are perfect fifths. So what happens is you actually just feel your patterns rather than memorizing what notes are noted in the beginning. Yeah? So here we go. This is a major 1, 3, 5 that I learned how to play with my 1, 2, and 4 fingers, and then my 1, 3, and 5. So I can do that in D. Then I do E. And then I do F. And then G, then A, then B, and then C again. When I do all my majors, then I go to my minors, and I flatten that median. So when I do that, I've got 1, 2, 3. A minor third has 3 minor seconds. We'll talk about this more in complete, but I wanted to give you the foundation here. So when we're starting to line out what a C major, C, D, E, F, F major is, and then C, D, E, F, G, a 1, 4, 5 progression can be 1, 5, stand in the place where you were, count out, don't think about direction, wonder why. That is a 1, C, C, D, E, F, 4, F, G, 1, 4, 5. What happens is we see C majors being this and we turn it into intervals. So you still get the same chord, but it gets higher consistently. It's called C major, C major with a first inversion, C major with a second inversion. There is a caveat to this, meaning the same fingers you have here will actually work. Your pinky should be on the C, which you just moved up here, and then when you go up to your fifth, C, D, E, F, G, and you play that with your thumb, you quite literally should have your pinky up on that top note again. We do that for every single inversion, right? So this chord goes through this chord, then this chord goes to that chord, and that goes with this chord. Each one of these moves on depending whether we're in C major, C sharp, D major, E sharp major, E major, F sharp major, G major, G sharp major, A major, B flat major, B major, or C major again. Then we see how we could add notes to a triad like the one we talked about today with the second. C sus feels like a chord is over the top of our head. So what ends up happening, it feels like you want to have that resolve. Hope that made sense. I'm also going to give you one that has a little bit of strumming on there and talk about our spider exercises, our teeter-totter seesaws, and then the two chords we learned today, C and D. C major on piano, D major on piano. Aloha!